I'm not a political pundit. I didn't study political history or theory. I don't watch C-SPAN on repeat, so what I'm about to say is not coming as a political authority, but rather a spiritual one. What happened yesterday in America and what is going to keep unfolding politically in our country is going to have a lasting impact on us and our spiritual communities. If you feel grief, if you're saddened about yesterday's events or afraid of the future that is to come, hear me say this. You are still loved. You are God's beloved. You are a part of a better, more perfect kingdom that is to come. And even though you might feel not blessed by Caesar, you are by God. That has not changed, and it won't. But we still have to live in this crazy world that's unfolding. And what we're witnessing is so devastatingly polarizing, so militantly charged. We Christians are going to have to respond in a united, calm, loving way. This is a culture-shaping moment we are in. It's volatile, dangerous, unpredictable, and also unavoidable. The toothpaste is out of the tube and we can't put it back in. There's no going back to any form of yesteryear. The church has to move forward, figuring out how to lead people through this chaos. Now, I don't want to sound like an alarmist. I don't mean this to be overly dramatic, but just like with schisms and wars in the past, we are staring directly into another potential tectonic shift in church. And I think the church has one shot at showing America how to love our way through this. Now, I don't believe people will tolerate a partisan-aligned church anymore. Church as we know it will crumble if we do not offer something more loving and inviting. So what should the church's marching orders be in the midst of all of this? Perhaps a better question is, what would Jesus have for us Christians to do in a moment like this? If we only have one shot and we're to err on something, we should err on the words of Jesus, specifically those from the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 13 through 16. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are also the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see the good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Now, I want to dig into these two ideas more deeply. You are salt of the earth. Like salt, we must preserve the goodness of all things. So what is good in the world? Love is. Freedom is. Human dignity and self-worth and kindness are. Justice and mercy are. Let us do what we must to preserve these things, to show these things, to share these things. And all of this stems from our ability to love. If the church can't preserve the goodness of love, then it will lose its salt, the salt it needs to help restore people's hope, and we might as well be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Think about that in the days ahead. People are splitting into defending base camps that hate the other base camps. I mean, bipartisanship is almost null and void, and it's happening from the local to the national levels. We take the Supreme Court, for example. For the first time in American history, a Supreme Court justice was confirmed by a completely partisan vote. Not one Democrat confirmed it. The first time in American history. Think about that. This is how polarized we are. I had a church member tell me once that the most dangerous future that lies ahead of us is when we let identity politics lead. I think he's right. These divisive, identity-led political maneuvers cannot be what is preserved and then lifted up as what the church sees as good. Something's going to have to emerge that's willing to stand in the middle of all of this polarization, to offer a better way. It has to be the church, standing to preserve what is good, like love and dignity of self, freedom of consciousness, the need for neighborliness, and the hope for justice, and the power of open-mindedness. And only those who are the salt of the earth can dare to offer such things. But we're also the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hid. I think it's true to say America is in a dark place, and it needs a light. The church can't hide its faith right now. It must be a city on a hill, pointing people to love and to beauty, inclusion, goodness. We must shine our light so people may see our good works, and then in turn, give glory to God in heaven. There was a pastor in the late 90s who wrote a book about how churches and Christians should be able to dialogue their way through complicated and difficult discussions. The book was titled this, More Light, Less Heat. The title is awesome. We want to shine more light, but we don't want to give off more heat. What I took from the author is this. We don't need more anger. We don't need more malice or conflict leading our discussions. We, the church, can't be harbingers of hate. We must shine a better light so that they can see our good works. I think people often miss that last line in verse 16, so people will see our good works. What I hear Jesus saying is this, more light, less heat. Think of it like this. The church will either draw people to God or push people away. So let me ask you this. How are you being and preparing and sharing both salt and light? How we answer this is going to have lasting implications on the church and the world. So if you're wondering what word Jesus should have for you right now, and if you're wondering what the response of the church must be in America right now, it's this. The world needs you more than ever to be salt and light.